Hi, welcome back to APLCrafts Lazy Dye Studio. Today we're going to do two different skeins of yarn in a tonal. One of them is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon fingering, and the other one is an 85-15 superwash merino nylon fingering. Mostly because that's what I wanted to dye up, but it would also be interesting to see if there's any differences between the two skeins, considering one has more nylon content than the other, so that'll be fun. What I also plan to do is, after we get that initial color on for the tonal, we can stop there. And if you're following along, you can stop there. But I think after that, I want to add some color to that, some teals, maybe some saffron. We'll see what I have in my dye stock that's really calling out to me. And then we'll add that afterwards. So you can continue to watch and see how that plays out. So that's the plan for today. So I'm going to get my yarn soaking in room temperature water for no less than a half an hour. I'm still waking up, if you can't tell. So it'll probably be an hour before I get to it, which is okay because I mean you can soak yarn for hours and hours. So let's get started. I want to mention so that you'll know how I can tell the difference. This skein of yarn has a blue string on it. That's how I know that this is 75-25. And this one has a black string on it, and that's how I know that it's 85-15. I do not have citric acid in the water, so I'm just going to push this down. The thought just came to me, if you ever want to dye up yarn that's untreated or non-superwash, when you are pushing your yarn into the water, you really got to hold it down because it takes a long time for that water to penetrate into the fibers. Whereas with superwash, I mean, you see how quickly this is soaking up the water. And that's the difference between stripping off the scales on superwash and not with the non-superwash, in case you were curious. All right, we're going to get this soaking. Materials used in this video today are fry pot, which is basically like a short stock pot, paper towels, gloves. You can use disposable or reusable, whichever you want to do, measuring spoons, regular spoon, notebook, N95 mask. Citric acid does not matter what brand it is. I've got a 4-cup measuring cup there just to measure the water in the stock pot. And then the dyes that we're going to use today: Dharma acid dye, and we're going to do a mix of golden straw and tobacco leaf because I don't normally use these colors and I really want to play around with them a little bit. I'm feeling autumny, so that's what we're going to use for our tonal. And then after that, we're going to do what I like to call a speckle and splash, where you have some splashes of color with a little bit of speckling going on. And I have not decided if we're going to do saffron spice or cayenne red. Maybe both. We may just use one of those. And I want to do some teal green for a pop of color. I may or may not use that one either. It really depends on how I feel. But right now, that's the plan. So we are going to put some color in here. We're going to start with a 1/4 teaspoon of the tobacco leaf and the golden straw to start, and then play around from there. I'm putting on my mask and my gloves. If I haven't mentioned it already, I have 10 cups of water in here because we're doing 2 skeins of yarn. If we were doing 4 skeins of yarn, I'd probably put 15 to 20 cups, but we're just doing 2 today. Okay, tobacco leaf. Tobacco leaf is very green. I feel like this is a color that will break, which for what I'm planning on doing, I don't mind. So let's give this a stir. now it's brown. Very interesting. We have some clumps going on in here. My thought is if those clumps don't break up, we're going to have some really heavy spots and some light spots on the yarn. Don't know if I want that yet. Maybe. Okay, I have residue on the measuring spoon, so I'm just going to take a damp paper towel, and just wipe that up. Oh, look at that. Okay, see? So just wiping that up, we've got green, red, yellow. That's interesting. So if this were to break, which it might, those are the colors that we're probably going to get on part of the yarn. That's kind of cool for what I'm going for today. So just something to keep in mind. All right, now we're going to do a 1/4 teaspoon of golden straw. I don't know if we'll see a difference. Considering we're putting it in with the tobacco leaf, we probably won't even notice what's going on in the pot. But let's give it a bit of a stir. So we've got like this dark orange, golden brown color going on. So that'll be interesting to see what it does. So I'm going to turn the heat on. I'm going to put it on medium-high. And I'm going to go grab the yarn, and then we're going to start immersing it. Here we go. Oh yeah, look at that. Got some brown going on. I'm using my spoon to push in the parts that didn't get immersed right away. Now, if you're using a stock pot, you'll get full even color right away. I am not, and I don't have any plans to ever get a stock pot, so that always gives me some variance of color. And you can see actually how we already have that breaking that I just showed you going on, which I'm really, really liking that. Okay, there's that clump that we were looking at earlier that didn't break up. I'm just gonna go through that and kind of work it into the yarn a little bit. But yeah, we've got the reds, and we've got that yellow undertone. There's some more of those clumps that didn't break up. So let's move the yarn a little bit and see if we can break some of that up. See, that's what it did here. Let me show you those clumps. So I'm going to break that up, kind of disperse some of that dye. And now we can see that the water is starting to turn a little more green. So what I'm noticing is that when we put these two colors together, we're getting that red right away, the yellow right away, and the green kind of hangs out. So it'll be interesting to see what it does as the yarn soaks up that color. See, look, now we're getting green in the spoon. So that's cool. Cool. Oh yeah, now let me show you this. Let's get a little bit closer. We're getting some chartreuse going on in here. Interesting. Can't say I hate it. Cannot say I hate it. I've had these colors for years. I never use them. So, time to use them. I am really liking this. I don't know if this will be repeatable. Okay, another thing I'm noticing is that which one is this one? This one is the 75-25, and the red is brighter on this than on the 85-15. So that's something that's good to know as far as the comparisons between the merino and nylon content, is that you're getting more vibrancy, it looks like, when you have more nylon content. Interesting. So I'm going to let this soak up all the color as much as I can, and then we're going to add citric. I don't normally do that. I usually have citric in my water, but I'm experimenting along with you, and I'm going to add my citric a little later, just to see if there really is that much of a difference between adding citric at the beginning or adding it near the end. Because the theory is that you're getting more penetration through the twist of the yarn by letting it sit before you add the citric, which makes sense. I don't typically dye that way, but let's play around with it. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes, let those bubbles come up, and shut it off, and then let it sit in the heat for a little bit, and then I'll add citric, because I'm pretty sure we'll have some color left over, and that citric will help the yarn soak up the rest of this color. It's been a few minutes. I'm going to put my gloves back on. We're going to add some citric acid to this. I'm going to start with a tablespoon. And I'm going to use my spoon to move the yarn out of the way. So I don't want to hit the yarn directly with the citric. I want to get it in the water. And you'll see how quickly this color starts to go away as we're moving the yarn around and getting that citric into the yarn. And we will have to flip this yarn too. So we'll be doing that now, just so that the other side can get into that citric water. See how the color's already lightened up? Now we're getting that green hitting the yarn. So we're having red and yellow with a green overtone. That's really cool. I like that. That definitely is going to change how we're going to do our speckle and splotch method later, for sure. But this is coming out really nice. I like that. Autumn vibes, yo. For real. See, look at that. Now the water's clear. The magic of citric acid, I'm telling you. So now we know that all that color has gone into the yarn. So now I'm going to shut off the heat and let this cool down. Not completely cool down all the way, but I just want to bring that temperature down. And then once I think that this yarn has set enough, so maybe 5-10 minutes from now, the water will still be hot, but the water will still be hot. What am I doing here? There we go. But not boiling. And we can start adding our other colors, because now I have to rethink what colors we're going to do. While we're on that topic, I think cayenne red would still be good, because we're bringing out that red that's in here, so we're going to keep that. Saffron spice I think will blend too much with the orange tones that are in here, so I think we're going to take that out. And I think the teal is probably not going to be a good look for this either. So I'm going to take those away. We're going to keep the cayenne red, and we'll see what else I can bring into this picture. I have a toss-up between fawn, which leans kind of orange, so that might blend in, or espresso bean, which leans kind of purpley. That might not be bad, but it might throw some Halloween vibes in there that I'm not looking for. I almost wonder if we should just stay with the cayenne red and that's it. Decisions, decisions. Let's just go ahead and do the fawn. The fawn might be the safer option because it does lean orange, and it's gonna, when it breaks, it'll go well with, if and when it breaks, if or when, it'll go well with that yarn. Whereas I'm not really feeling that purple tone that's in the espresso bean. So we're gonna go with that. I'm going to move this yarn a little bit, and then we're going to get started with the speckling. So if you're following along and you don't want to do any speckle and splotch, as I like to call it, this will be where you just sit back and watch. If you are following along and wanting to experiment, this is where we're going to start adding our speckling. I really think that's cool, the difference between the 85-15 and the 75-25. You can really see it on the camera too. This is more vibrant and that is more toned down. They're both beautiful, but they're both different, and it's just that 10% difference. That's really interesting. I don't normally work with 75-25, but I found a really good deal, so I grabbed some. So it's been interesting to work with that yarn. All right, I'm gonna put my mask on and we're gonna start speckling. Let's do that cayenne red first. In my last video, I went over the different methods you can use for speckling. My favorite one is just pinch from the container. I have more control over it that way, and it's less messy in my opinion. So we're just gonna do that. So when I say a pinch, I mean like you're really just getting it on the glove, and then you're just gonna go over it like this. So the difference between just straight up speckling and doing a speckle and splotch is the amount of water that's in here. Because a lot of your speckles are going to hit this water, it's gonna spread. So you're getting splotches of color, whereas the parts that aren't buried in the water are gonna get speckled. So if that makes sense. I'm just gonna do a little bit more speckling over here on the outsides. And less is more, less is always more. Do I have dye on my fingers? Yes, this is why we have the paper towel. So I'm gonna wet this paper towel just a little bit more and get this color off. And you can already start to see, as that dye is getting into the yarn, you're starting to see those speckles going on. We're gonna let that sit on there for a little bit. When I get back, we're gonna throw the fawn on here. What you can do too, I should mention, I do not have one today, is a yarn mop. And a yarn mop basically is just a wet skein of yarn before wiping your hands off, so that you're getting color onto the yarn, and then it can look all kinds of random and beautiful. Not doing that today, but that is something you could do if you don't want to use a paper towel to wipe your gloves off with. You can use a yarn mop. All right, so we're going to pinch the fawn over the yarn. There we go, a little bit more. Just kind of rub your fingers, get it over there. This is actually really pretty. I'm going to go a little bit heavier with this fawn because it is blending in like I thought it would. So, okay, I think that's good enough for this side. We're going to let that sit on the yarn for about 5-10 minutes, and then we'll do a patch test. I'll show you how to do that if you haven't seen that before. We'll do a patch test and then see if those speckles have set onto the yarn. And then we will flip the yarn and repeat the speckling on the other side. It's been a few minutes, so now we're going to do a patch test to see if these speckles have settled. And let me give you a closer view so you can see what I'm doing here. Basically, I'm just pressing down on like an area where the speckles are to see if that color spreads. If I don't see a lot of spreading going on, then I know that those speckles have pretty much set, and then I'm ready to flip the yarn. I'm going to turn my heat back on to medium high just for a few minutes, so I'm keeping that heat and I'm not losing it, because we do need that heat to set those speckles. Okay, and now I'm going to put my mask back on, and we're going to start speckling this side. Fun. I might go heavier with the speckles on this side just for some variance, because why not? Why not? Get on the edges. Don't forget to do your edges. Okay, cayenne red. Go a little heavy on this too. Okay, oh, that looks nice. Look at that. Okay, we're gonna stop that there. I'm gonna let the heat come back up to a low boil, shut it off, and then let the yarn sit for about 10 minutes after the heat is shut off, and then we're going to do a patch test. It's been 10 minutes, so let's do a patch test and see if these speckles have set. And looks like we're doing pretty good. Yep, I'm happy. So we're going to take this, the heat's off by the way. We're going to take this, we're going to flip it over, let this top part get that bottom heat. And finish letting this heat set. And we can look at these speckles that we put on the other side so you can see what they look like. So you can see some speckling going on here, here, over here, speckling over here. So they set pretty well, so we just need to let this sit and cool down, which, you know, who knows how long it's going to take, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Then we're going to transfer it to the sink, let the yarn finish cooling off in the sink, pour our soap on it. You can use dish soap if you want. I personally like to use Eucalyptus, and then we're going to rinse the yarn, and you can hang it any way you'd like. So I'll see you at the sink. We're ready to rinse our yarn. This time I'm going to use the pot that we dyed the yarn in to rinse the yarn. I've actually never done it this way, so I don't know what to expect. But I figured it would give a little bit of variety to this channel. So Just going to throw this in here. I already have soap on here on the yarn. And I'm just going to push in here. Give it a little bit of swishy swish. And let's see. I have hardly any bleeding, so that's good considering. So, do this one more time. I don't think I like this method, but I figure I'd try it once. Okay. Yeah, I don't like it. More power to you if that's your thing, not mine. Oh. Sweeten up the rest of the water. Get that out of here. Now, there's several different ways you can let this dry. You can put it on the clothesline. You can put it on one of those portable clotheslines. You can hang it in your shower, whichever you want to do. So I recommend squeezing out all the water, let it hang some more. Let the gravity pull the water to the edge and squeeze out right the end of the yarn. Squeeze out the rest of that water and then wrap it in a towel, step on it, and then hang it to dry. That makes it faster. You save a day with the yarn drying if you do it that way. So I will meet you in a second to see what the final product looks like. Okay, so here are the two skeins laid out side by side. This one is the 85-15 and this one is the 75-25, and even on camera you can still tell the difference. The 85-15 picked up more of that green at the end, whereas the 75-25 only has a little bit of the green and definitely more of the red. So let me flip this over so we can see the other side. And even on here, you can tell there's more green and stuff, where this just picked up a little bit of the green, but definitely more of that red. We have more speckling on the 85-15. We do have some fine speckles on the 75-25. You can see that here and here. So let's look at this skeined up. As you can see, one is longer than the other. The 75-25 is longer than the 85-15, and really that just has to go with the fact that the yarn is wrapped around before they put it into a hank less times than the 85-15. That's the only difference between the two. They're both 400 meters, 437 yards. So here is what it looks like hanged up. Again, you can see those reds really coming out with just a little bit of green on that 75-25 and a lot of green on that 85-15. So if you're making your own yarn with this recipe, that's just something to keep in mind of how that's going to hit. Now, again, that's going to be different depending on the type of pot you use. And I do write that in my description that there's going to be some variance depending on the type of pot you use. And also I want to make a note that water, while alkaline on the average, can range more alkaline and more acidic depending on your city water. So that's also something to keep in mind. There's another channel out there, and you probably know who it is. I'm not going to name names. Her water is a little bit more acidic than normal. So that's something that she talks about a lot. So I don't know where my water sits, and I also have a whole house water filter, so I don't know where my water is. That's just something for you to know as well. So, you know, the whole idea is just to play around with your color and have fun with it. We're going to go ahead and do a giveaway. Comment below how you enjoyed the video and what you would do differently with this dye session. And let me know if you'd like to be part of the giveaway in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And you can win one of these skeins of yarn just when I Put your name through the YouTube commenter depending on how many people are participate. You can choose which one you would like. Okay, so I will see you next time. Go make something, have fun, and play around with some color. All right, take care.